Yo, it's going to be back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Indiana Pacers are going to be possibly a sleeping giant going into this year. Now, this isn't as much to say that I think Indiana is going to be a good team next year, because I don't think they're going to be, but I think they could be a very fun and interesting team to watch, and I think in a few years they could maybe turn into that sleeping giant that I've mentioned already. And the reason I think this is because they have a ton of young assets, a ton of young pieces, and really a ton of just interesting players going forward that I think they can develop, and they can make a pretty nice team in about 2 to 3 years, depending if they make their right draft picks, the right trades, the right free agent signings. This team could be very nice in a few years. So I think for sure that this team is going to be very fun to watch and very fun to see how they do build this team going into the future, because they can go in so many different directions. So if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video the entire way through and hit the like button and subscribe button if at any point that you're liking the video. And without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. Okay, so the first thing I really want to get into this video is going to be just how interesting this team actually is if you really look at it on paper. So the first player I really want to get into is probably the most known one. He's going to be Tyrese Halliburton. Obviously, they got him through the Sabonis trade earlier last season. And, I mean, Halliburton has been great since he got in the league. I loved him coming out of the draft. He ended up winning Rookie of the Year with the Kings when he was there. They traded him away for Sabonis because they were trying to win now. And now he's kind of just improving every year he's been in the NBA. His second year was better than his first year. And there's no indication saying that his third year won't be the same way as his second year was. So I'm sure he's going to keep on developing. And Tyrese Halliburton legitimately has star potential. He could become an all-star level player one day, and he is very close to it already, so I don't doubt that he will get there. And overall, out of all the young guys in the NBA, he is one of the more slept-on young guys just because of the teams he's played on. I mean, he's played for the Sacramento Kings and the Indiana Pacers now. It doesn't get much more relevant than that, but still, he is a very interesting player, and they could legitimately have gotten themselves an all-star level player in that trade for Sabonis, and they got themselves a young one who was always committed to the team. When he was with the Kings, he was fully committed to the Sacramento Kings, and he was legitimately hurt when he got traded. So I'm sure it'll be the same with the Indiana Pacers. He's going to be legitimately locked in, and he will re-sign if they treat him right, and he is going to 100% try his hardest to win with the Indiana Pacers, and there's not a lot of young guys that are like that, and Halliburton being an all-star level player that young, that is also going to be that committed to a small market team, is very, very important for a team like the Indiana Pacers. The next player I want to get into is going to be the player they just drafted with the 6th overall pick, and that is Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin was one of my favorite players in the entire draft going into this season, and he showed out in the summer league. He played out of his mind and was really just overall really able to show why they picked him so high in the lottery. And I just think for sure that Benedict Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton together are going to mesh very well, and they could have their star duo right there going into the future, because if Tyrese Halliburton develops into an all-star and Benedict Mathurin develops into an all-star like I think he will, now you have 2 all-star level players on your team, and you're kind of cooking with something. You have a good foundation, you're building on it, and you can definitely build off of 2 all-star level players going forward into the future. That is a very nice place to start, and I think that is exactly what the Indiana Pacers have put themselves in place to be able to do going into the next few seasons. And now the next few players I get into are probably going to be a lot lesser known, but if you're an Indiana Pacers fan or just a really diehard NBA fan like me, you will probably know who they are. They also have players like Jalen Smith, and Jalen Smith, before he got with Indiana, when he was with the Suns, never really got a fair shake. But then he got to Indiana, and in the 22 games where he played with the Indiana Pacers, he was able to average 13.5 points per game, 1 block per game, 8 rebounds per game on 76% shooting from the free throw line, 60% shooting from the field, and also a nice 37% shooting from the 3-point line. And that is very, very impressive, and he has flashed his potential so much with the Pacers that they even re-signed him in this offseason to keep him around. And I think that was a great move, because Jalen Smith, this is his first time getting a real opportunity, and he played very, very well. So if he can build off of this and maybe get to be a 15-point per game scorer while still blocking shots, while still grabbing rebounds and shooting at good efficiencies, I mean, this dude has the ceiling as high as you can go. I mean, any big man like Jalen Smith who can do all the things that he can do is very, very fun to watch. And I think he's showing why Phoenix drafted him in the lottery, but he's just finally getting a real opportunity, and this is what he's doing. And I think that is very, very promising for Indiana Pacers going forward. And I think Jalen Smith could be a huge piece for them going forward into the future. Now, although I don't think he'll develop into a star or anything, I wouldn't say he can't develop into a top 15, top 10 center in the NBA one day either. And now kind of going back to a rookie that they had last year, they had Chris Duarte, who was a very solid rookie for them last year. Now, although he didn't really show star potential like I thought he could maybe have coming out of the draft class, he did show that he is going to be a very, very solid player for his entire NBA career. And it's probably going to be around a 15 point per game scorer. He's very solid, and he's just one of those players that you love to have on your team. Plus, he's so young and he can keep developing, and he just fits this team's timeline so perfectly. I think Chris Duarte is going to be a very influential and very good player for the Indiana Pacers going forward, and I'm sure he's going to be able to build on his rookie year a little bit, and he's just going to be playing better and better. He made the all-rookie team, so he's a very solid player, and I just think that this team drafts so damn good, it's insane. Because in another rookie they had last year that's, I think, very impressive is Isiah Jackson. Now, Isiah Jackson's kind of in the same boat as Jalen Smith, just not as an extreme version. Isiah Jackson, pretty much all of his rookie season, didn't get real NBA minutes at all, but towards the end of the year when they were trying to tank, he did get extended minutes, and Isiah Jackson showed why I liked him so much coming out of the draft. He averaged 11.4 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 1 steal per game, 2.3 blocks per game on 57% shooting from the field in the last 16 games of the season. So he was able to put up those very solid numbers for an extended amount of time, and I think for sure that was his first time getting real NBA minutes, and he was able to do that. So I think for sure Isiah Jackson has a chance to be one of the best two-way big men in the entire league. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar or a star or anything like that, but I do think he's going to be able to lock down the paint and play great perimeter defense while still giving you around 13 to 14 points per game at his peak. So I think for sure Isiah Jackson is going to get a lot more run than he did last season because of those last 16 games, and I think Isiah Jackson is going to be a huge piece going forward for the Indiana Pacers. And now their second to last interesting player is going to be Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy Hield isn't all that interesting because you know what he is by this point. At this point, he is the veteran of the team. Everyone knows what Buddy Hield's going to be, but he's still a 20 point per game scorer. He can get hot and give you 30 any night. He's a very good shooter, and he's just a very fun player to have on your team, and I think Buddy Hield is going to help this team be better than they would be without him. So I think for sure Buddy Hield is at least worth mentioning here. And then my last player I have is kind of in the same boat as Buddy Hield is Myles Turner. Myles Turner is one of those very underrated players. He's a big man who can shoot the three, he can play defense, he can bang in the paint, he can pretty much do everything you want your big man to do, and Myles Turner hasn't really gotten a fair team. He hasn't had a legit contending level squad around him for him to show what he really has. Now, I'm not saying that's what he has at all this year either, but I think Myles Turner is another very fun piece to have on your team, and I think for sure that he's going to be a big piece going forward like he has been for years now with the Indiana Pacers. And that is all of the interesting players on their team, and it is a lot, and that's why I think you can now see why I think the Indiana Pacers have a chance to be such a fun team going into next season. They have so many young guys with extremely high ceilings, you never know what you're going to get out of them, and it should be very, very fun to watch. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first video, so comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the Indiana Pacers are a very fun team going into next season? How much do you think they're going to develop? How good do you think some of their players are going to be? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and I hope you have a blessed day, so you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.